I don't got no friends. I don't got no friends. You know what I mean? I got supporters, people on my side and people on the other side.
Welcome to the shift where the whole room blows. DMG vibes got the city on go. Stand on what you know, every mind gon' grow. Just you flat, I'm with you, let the whole world know. Paradigm like yo, shine just right. Respect your view even if we don't align right. We can disagree and still keep the love tight. DMG family, we elevate the mind right. This that channel that be talking back, energy attack. Iron sharpens iron, watch the whole league react. Competition in the building, better tighten up your facts. We ain't clones, but we still mirror how you crack under impact. Every debater work hard, spot a weak, rap fast. You live wrong, paradigm shift, and break your stance. I'm the judge, the jury, the pen, the contrast. My bars hit always like a quadruple. Buying title shift, where the whole room glow. DMG vibes got the city on go. Stand on what you know, every mind gon' grow. If you black, I'm with you, let the whole world know. Paradigm light, yeah, we shine just right. Respect your view, even if we don't all align right. We can disagree and still keep the love tight. DMG family, we elevate the mind right. We invite every mind, long as you stand on yours. Walking with respect, leave with open doors. Channel stay lit, views jumping off from boards. STL bounce, yeah, the spy from the source. Competitors, welcome, step up, don't fold. We don't fit pressure, we refine under low. Thoughts heavy, we press them till the truth get told. Shift so clean, it feel platinum even when it's gold. Come through correct, bring your logic and your proof. Speak your truth, just don't run from the truth. We debate with grace, that's the paradigm groove. Flow so smooth, even turbulence move. Welcome to the shift where the whole room go. DMG vibes got the city on go. Stand on what you know, every mind gon' grow. If you black, I'm with you, let the whole world know. Paradigm light, yeah, we shine just right. Respect your view, even if we don't align right. We can disagree and still keep the love tight. DMG family, we elevate the mind right. Where the home go. DMG vibes got the city on go. Stand on what you know, every mind gon' go. If you black, I'm with you, let the whole world know. Paradigm life, yeah, we shine just right. Respect your view, even if we don't align right. We can disagree and still keep the love tight. DMG family, we elevate the mind right. Welcome to the shift. DMG vibes got the city on go. Welcome to the shift. Stand on what you know, every mind gon' grow. Welcome to the shift. If you black, I'm with you, if you black, I'm with you. Welcome to the shift. We can disagree and still keep the love tight. Welcome to the shift. DMG family, we elevate the mind right. Welcome to the shift. DMG vibe, got the city on low. Walk with paradigm shift, keep it real forward.
Y'all know I say that greeting for one reason and one reason only. It's because if you black, I'm with you. And I hope that you with me.
Yo, you already know who it is. It's your boy Cannon, the straight shooter. Listen, I got some guys ready for a debate today. We are about to get things going. Shout out to my man Gideon. And we got my man Raymoe. They gonna go ahead and get a debate going. I'm gonna get you, before we start, just go ahead and introduce yourselves, fellas. Gideon, since Raymoe going first, just introduce yourself to everybody that's watching. And then after that, we're going to get Raymoe right in, and then he going to do his 3-minute opening. But just go ahead and give us a little intro. Shout out your team.
Shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High in the name of Yahshua HaMashiach. Team Yisrael, shout out to the man, Yahshua HaMashiach. Peace to DMG, Brother Cannon, my opponent for the night, Yaya. Excuse me, and he said make it quick, but excuse my picture not showing for some reason on the TV I see, but apologies, with all praises.
No problem, no problem. I do see a picture that is it looks to be green and red. I don't know if that's what you meant, but I do see that. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, but it's not coming across on the TV because I'm looking at it on the TV at the same time, and the only one is Yaya's Raymond Bantu. But
Okay, okay, Roger that. And so Raymoe, I know I'm gonna give you 3 minutes, but go ahead and just intro yourself first. Let everybody know what's going on. Shout out what's going on.
Peace to the channel, man. Peace to everybody. I appreciate you guys for letting me on the channel today to have this debate with Brother Gideon. I appreciate Brother Gideon for allowing me to debate him on this topic. Uh, Shout out to DMG. You get what I'm saying, for giving me this opportunity too as well. That's about it. You get what I'm saying. Here to have a clean, neutral debate with Brother Gideon. So see how it turns out.
Absolutely. So what we're gonna do is we're going to do your 3 minute opening. And so once you are ready, let me know when you're ready. I'll start the timer for you. Whenever you're ready, I start. When you start, 3 minute opening intro. Since you are the affirmative, you go first.
Okay, cool. I'm ready.
All right. Start. I start when you start.
All right. Good evening, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Some people they come to debate and talk about faith and tradition, but tonight we're not doing that. Tonight we're gonna be talking about forensics. Um, we're gonna be talking about receipts. We're gonna be bringing out scholarship showing that Gnosticism did not steal from biblical Canaan, but the biblical Canaan did. I'm here to talk about the death too as well, uh, the death of identity, the death of history, and the death of the light. Because we all know that Gnosticism dealt with light, and before the biblical Canaan started dealing with light, Gnosticism had it first. Gnostics had it first. Um, um, we're also going to be talking about the New Testament, the original foundation of the faith. But I also have many slides too as well to prove that. You're going to see that foundation that Gideon is standing on wasn't poured until the 4th century. It's not a reservation. It's a corporate merger between the Roman Empire and the 1st century movement that they did not understand and couldn't control. I'm speaking of Gnosticism. I'll also be bringing out the timelines of the fragments between P66 and P52 to show that the Gospel of Thomas predates both physical fragments by 200 years. That would be the forensics that I'd be talking about, which is the timeline. Uh, uh, Also, I'll be showing that the original saying of the light, dating back to 30 to 60 CE. This is the source code. It was circulating in the hands of the people who came out of Egypt, while the canonical gospels were still anonymous drafts. So I will be proving that too also, that before there was a biblical Canaan established in the 1st century or 2nd century, however many centuries they want to establish within, there was no biblical Canaan, and that it was labeled anonymous, and that I will be proving that Marcion had these gospels prior to the biblical Canaan being anonymous, prior to Irenaeus,
30
prior
seconds.
to Althanius too as well. Um, um, but other than that, this really gonna be my main focus. It's focusing on the timeline, the forensic dates, the identity theft, the retro construction of Orthodox Christianity, and many other things. I hear my time.
All right, thank you. That was my man Yaya Bantu. Um, now we are going to get into the 3-minute opening for Gideon. I start when you start, my brother.
All right, get my screen shared. Let me get it. See,
You need to reshare it again because you closed it out.
okay? Let's see. All right, we good?
You up?
All right, so is it showing?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go.
I start when you start.
Did the New Testament steal from the Gnostic text? Good evening, everybody. As I stated earlier, all praises to the Most High in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Shout out to the team, at Paradigm Shift for providing the platform. And we're just going to get into it. Now, when we come to the title of the debate, we're going to get into what are the two texts we're talking about. Gnostic texts are a collection of scriptures written by Gnostic Christians in the first few centuries AD. These texts articulate a distinctively Gnostic perspective on the world and salvation, serving as literally expressions of a remarkable spiritual wisdom. The Nag Hammadi text, also known as the Chernobyskion manuscripts in the Gnostic Gospels, is a collection of early Christian and Gnostic texts discovered near the Upper Egyptian town of Nag Hammadi in 1945. The manuscripts discovered at Nag Hammadi are generally dated to the 4th century, and that's sorted by Wikipedia. The New Testament, on the other hand, is the second division of the Christian Bible, consisting of 27 books that document the life of Yeshua, the early Christian church, and teachings of the apostles. Now, when it comes to did the New Testament plagiarize Gnostic texts, the reason why I say plagiarize is because when we're having a debate about text, that is what we're talking about. And plagiarism is stealing someone's writing and making it your own. I'm sorry, let's start this over. What is plagiarism? Or what is stealing someone's writing and making it your own? Stealing someone's writing and making it your own is a serious offense known as plagiarism. And laid out right here is what is plagiarism. It involves presenting ideas or works from another source as your own, usually without the author's consent and without full acknowledgement. It undermines scholarship, research integrity, and it contradicts ethical standards.
30 seconds.
Yeshua's life on earth, which reached its climax approximately 30 AD, has its earliest accounts recorded by the Gospels. His message of salvation by his death, burial, resurrection is prevalent not only throughout New Testament, but affirmed by the Old Testament and its prophets. Whereas Gnostic text teaches us that salvation is not through Yeshua's death, burial, and resurrection, but through attainment of hidden knowledge, something totally foreign to the New Testament. Based on date of origin, major character divergence, and direction of narrative, there is no way or room for my opponent to infer any type of circumstantial evidence to prove his point. Therefore, with that being said, only leaves direct evidence of theft, a clear-cut example of theft, which is plagiarism. And with that being the case, not only do I say there is no New Testament plagiarism,
that's time, bro.
So does the scholars and textual evidence.
All right, so now we're going to drop this down and start the first round. Let me remove this from stage. Yeah, you have 12 minutes. Let me put that on the clock for you.
Okay, let me share my screen real fast.
All right, let me know when you got it. All right, that is on the screen. I'm gonna mute up. I'm gonna start the time when you start talking. 12 minutes on the clock.
Okay, you can see it.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. So as you can see, my opponent, he broke down Gnosticism. He went into the library of Gnosticism and he started talking about certain texts that was within the Gnosticism. But what he failed to hold on real quick. This is actually the wrong one. The wrong PDF. My fault. Uh, my fault. My fault. I didn't dove into the. I didn't put up the wrong thing on the screen. That wasn't even the correct PDF.
Shout out to everybody in the chat.
All right, can you see the one that talk about the kernel? Hey, can you stop my time real quick? All right, there you go. There you go. It said the kernel. Is that what's on the screen?
Yes, sir. Your
Okay.
time already stopped. I've been stopped it.
Yeah, I had the wrong PDF up there.
No problem. You still got 11 minutes and 49 seconds. I
Okay.
start when you start.
You- what- Okay.
Yeah, it dropped.
You said it dropped.
Yeah.
And they say we got it. And I hear it too.
Yeah.
Is it?
He might
Is it
got
big on
to
the
turn the
screen?
speakers down. Yeah, it's up now.
Okay. All right. My fault. My fault. I'm ready.
Go
All right.
for it.
My opponent, he was talking about the Nag Hammadi and the library earlier. Sorry about that, audience. And he was bringing up certain texts, and the text that he forgot to bring up was the Gospel of Thomas. And I noticed it said that it was a 4th century document, but according to the priority, which is the forensic evidence the forensic evidence of 1st century gnosis, right? So as we see, it says the 120-year gap time / debunk. The claim, it said the canonical New Testament, the original foundation Christian thought. So the original foundation of Christianity, they claim to be the authority, and they claim to have 1st century documents, and the only ones to have this 1st century document. But according to 2026 resources from scholarships and academic scholars, we have a different side of the story. It says the 120-year gap / timeline debunk. It says the forensics reality scholarships as of 2026 confirms the kennel of Tom. I'm sorry about that. Let me go back. It says scholarships as of 2026 confirms the kennel of Thomas is independent tradition dated between 40 to 60 CE. So now we have a text within the Nag Hammadi that was found in Egypt with people that was in Egypt that was reading these same texts that dates back to 40 to 60 CE. So that this means that this text alone, by it being independent, it predates the Papyrus 6.6 and it predates the Papyrus 5.2 that dates only to 160 to 200 years CE. It says the 120-year gap / timeline debunk the logic. It said this predates the written completion of the anonymous canonical gospels 70 to 110 CE by decades, and it predates Althanius' canonical decree 367 CE by over 280 years. If anybody know who Althanius is the person that actually authorized the composition of the New Testament. How you think you have a New Testament today? You won't have a New Testament if it wasn't for Althanius and it wasn't for Irenaeus. So now we have a text that's found within Nag Hammadi, found with the Nag Hammadi text within it too as well, and we have Egyptians that was reading this text that predates the biblical canon. Not only the biblical canon, but predates the writing completions of the anonymous canonical gospels, which was dated to 70 to 110 CE by decades. And not only that, it predates Althanius' canonical decree. We all know who Althanius is. He was the same one as Irenaeus, who labeled the Gnostics as hearsay. But it's a reason why these people label these people hearsay. Right? It says the Gospel of Thomas, manuscripts to around 2nd century / early 3rd century. But scholars agree it preserves earlier traditions in similar and pure forms than or what is found in the Gospels. Speaking of the canonical Gospels, scholars called the core Thomas, saying layers Colonel Thomas, and date to 40 to 60 century CE. About 40% of the material in Thomas is found in the Gospels. And it says this makes sense because if we look at the Gospels, it says this makes sense because if we look at the Q Gospel, which is what is in Matthew's and Luke, but not in Mark, it still contains narratives that shows even the Q Gospels was later and taken from somewhere else. So now we have scholars now that agree. We got scholars now that agree that the kernel of the Gospel of Thomas, or the core, dates back to 40 to 60 century CE. So if my opponent try to run to the Papyrus of John, it's no match, because that's only dates to what I'll say 60 to 100 AD, CE. You know, the kernel still predates that. So now we got scholar proof showing that the Gospel of Thomas, found within the Nag Hammadi, predates the biblical canon. The anonymous project, it said the anonymous problem / reject of John. Right? It says manuscript fact. The Gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were originally anonymous. Names were at. Right? So that means that prior to the 1st century CE, there was no biblical canon at all. There was nobody running around claiming that they had the Bible in their hand, claiming that Jesus wrote these within these texts, or Matthew wrote the book, or Mark wrote his book, Luke wrote his book. Nobody was running around saying that, because why? Those texts was anonymous. Even if the brother did try to bring up Papyrus, the Papyrus 6.6 of John and Papyrus 5.2 of John, it still would be labeled anonymous because Christians wasn't using those fragments. You get what I'm saying? They wasn't using those fragments. Not only that, Christians at that time was using the Septuagint. They was using Greek and Hebrew texts. They wasn't using their own canonical texts because they didn't have one prior to the 1st century AD. Why? Because it was labeled anonymous. Right? And it says scholars today believe that the canonical Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, were originally penned and circulated anonymously. The thinking being that these documents were what is sometimes referred to as being formally anonymous is that if you remove the gospel according to title from the front page and remove it with and removed it from within, right? It says the content you would not necessarily know who
5
the
minutes.
author was. Never. He said the New Testament scholar Rudolph notes in his commentary on the Gospel of Mark that the Gospel of Mark was without a doubt published anonymously. All inscriptions and subscriptions in the Gospel's manuscriptions are late, as Richard Barkheim has noted. This is biblical canon scholar. He just admitted your texts came later. Your texts came later. Your Gospels came later. Your manuscripts came later, and they was labeled anonymous. Marcion Canaan. It's getting hot now. So now this is where the theft and things like that come in at. So now we have the Gospel of Thomas, right? That is a Nag Hammadi text found within Nag Hammadi, which is in Egypt, right? And we have Egyptians reading this text. This text dates back to 40 to 60 CE, predating the biblical Canaan. So how can the Gnostics steal from something that came way later? Marcion Canaan, first Canaan. Before the Orthodox Church had a Bible, Marcion had the first one. Marcion Canaan is 140 CE, existed 227 years before Althanius' decree, which dates to 367 CE. So Marcion, who was a Gnostic, had a Canaan with Luke in it, with the apostles. You get what I'm saying? So if Marcion predates the Althanius, who actually established the composition of the New Testament we have today, how can Gnosticism steal from Orthodox Christianity? Right? Let's keep going. Early records. It say the earliest record of attempts at compiling a canon was made by Marcion, CE 140 AD, who accepted only a modified version of Luke and the 10 Paul's letters. Like I said, he had Luke and the apostles, Paul's letters, while rejecting the Old Testament entirely. Irenaeus, right, 202, quotes and cites 21 books that would end up as part of the New Testament, but does not use Philemon, Hebrews, James, 2 Peter's, John, and Jude. So Irenaeus is another one who copied from the Gnostics too as well, just like Althanius did, just like the Orthodox Christianity did. Right? It says Irenaeus, first to name the four Gospels. Irenaeus, right? Is historically significant. It says it's historically significant. Come on. It says it's historically significant for being the first to explicitly name and solidify the four canonical Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. In his work against Irenaeus, right? In his work against heresies in 100 AD. Remind you, Marcion Canaan was in 140 CE. So how can Gnostics steal from Orthodox Christianity? So now we have a biblical Canaan being established now in 180 AD from Orthodox Christianity. Why? Because Gnosticism was a rival to the Orthodox Christianity. There was a threat to these folks. You get what I'm saying? Not only that, right? He says he helped. Sorry about that. Let me go back. No, hold on. He said he helped establish the New Testament canon by defending these four as authoritative, countering Gnostics' teachings. So everything I'm showing is from Orthodox Christianity, the Church Fathers. It says Marcion canon predates Irenaeus' work. Marcion of Sinope, 85 to 160 CE, predates Irenaeus of Lyons, 130 to 202 CE. Marcion was active and established his canon, including his version of the Gospel of Luke and the Pauline Epistles
And
in the
that's
130s to
time.
140 CE.
All right, my brother.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
All right, I'm gonna take this off the screen for you. And Gideon, are you ready for your first round at 12 minutes?
Yeah. Give me 3 seconds, and I'm definitely ready.
All right, I added your presentation on the. And let me say this: DMG says the stream will end after round one. Hit this link to go over the Worldview Wars Debate League to keep enjoying the debate. And the link is, I'm gonna throw it on the screen for y'all. At the bottom of the first round, once Gideon finishes his first round, we are transitioning over to the new Worldview Wars Debate League YouTube channel. If you want to keep up with this debate, please follow us over there. All right, I got it set for 12 minutes on the clock. Miss Barbara, how are you? Sister Ray, how are you? Listen, shout out to everybody that's on the channel. Hit that like button, subscribe, hit that bell icon for the latest and greatest. And don't forget, we are back with Worldview Wars Debate League. You can follow us at the Worldview Wars. Welcome to the new world, as she say. So, Gideon, I'm ready when you are. I'll start
Yeah.
when you start talking.
All right, I'm ready. Can you we good?
You on the screen.
All right. So let's get it started. So as I was saying in my intro, based on date of origin, major character divergence, and direction of narrative, there is no way or room for my opponent to infer any type of circumstantial evidence to prove his point. Therefore, with that being said, that only leaves direct evidence of theft and a clear-cut example of theft, which is plagiarism. So what I would do is start from direct plagiarism and walk down my points of evidence to show why the New Testament did not steal from Gnostic texts and give clear-cut points for my opponent to address. Now, what we have right here is an example of direct plagiarism. Now, the article Biden plagiarized was called Torches Acts as a Basis for Jurisdiction in Products Liability Cases, was initially published in the Fordham Law Review in May 1965. Among the sentences Biden used without appropriate attribution, according to a New York Times report, was the trend of judicial opinion in various blah, 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 blah. So we see that this is an example of clear-cut plagiarism, which is the name and the title of this debate. Now, Biden apologized to his law school when he was a student and said his actions were unintentional. On the campaign trail 22 years later, he told the press before abandoning his campaign, "I was wrong, but I was not malevolent in any way. I did not intentionally, blah, 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 blah." So this, and the source of this is an article by E.J. Dion Jr., New York Times, September 18, 1987. So this is in a clear-cut example of plagiarism, which is the title of this debate. Now, with that being said, other reasons why the New Testament could have not plagiarized or stolen from Gnostic texts, and I want to put this out, that it was my opponent who decided to use this word stolen, which shows that if he was to be real adept about this conversation, he would know the correct term would be plagiarized, which is why I introduced it into the debate. Now, let's start with date of origin, like I stated. Plagiarism's strongest grounds of evidence would be date of authorship. The Gospels date from early first century, while Gnostic texts come much later in the 2nd to 4th century. Now let's see what we have. Now, the Gospels, as I says, of Yeshua have their origins first century, with some being written less than 40 years after his death, burial, and resurrection. Here we have Matthew, possibly early composition, mid-50s to early 60s AD. Many hold Matthew to be written before the fall of Jerusalem. Church tradition suggests Matthew wrote his account for a largely Jewish audience, fitting a time frame when Jerusalem was still the central hub of Jewish life. These are points coming from Bible Hub. We have Mark, likely mid-50s to late 60 AD. Mark's abrupt ending, 16:8, in the earliest manuscripts and style of writing suggests the text compiled quickly, possibly around the time of Peter's final ministry. Most scholars date the composition of the combined work to around AD 80 to 90. This is according to the Historical Jesus by James Charlesworth in Essential Code 2008. Now, when we have the Gnostic texts, the codices are written in Coptic, although the individual works are probably all translations from Greek. Scholars generally propose a 2nd century composition date for most of the lost Greek originals. The manuscripts themselves date from the 3rd and 4th centuries. The Nag Hammadi codices are housed in a Coptic museum in Cairo. Now, this is according to worldencyclopedia.org, giving the original manuscripts 3rd and 4th centuries. Sources. Radiocarbon dating indicates a possible range for Codex 1 between 241 and 387 CE with 99.7 probability. Academy.edu. Now, the preeminence of New Testament over Gnostic texts. The gospel throughout its text mention figures where we can go to extra biblical records to verify their existence. People like Pontius Pilate, Gamaliel the Elder, who's the leading authority in the Sanhedrin in the early 1st century. And we have many more that we can go to and see that their existence is spoken of outside of the biblical text. Now, people mentioned independently in the Gnostic text, mentioned in other source material. Let's see who we have. So I tell you, that's no one. So that takes care of date of origin, why the New Testament could not have plagiarized Gnostic texts. Now let's go to the second, which is direction of narrative. The plagiarized text must clearly show similar themes, sans surface similarities, intention of plagiarized text, and overall character of the text, showing clear copying. The gospel's message of salvation for all through the literal death and resurrection of Yeshua differs in terms of the Gnostic text that teaches a hidden wisdom, a created creator, and contradictory messages from the Savior coin secret teachings, when in reality they clash with the Yeshua of the New Testament. Now let's go and see what we have. It's two different creators. One reason one may make the claim of plagiarism is because the characters in questions are so similar. However, in this case, my opponent has to explain how there is plagiarism by the New Testament if the main characters are so different. Yahweh of the Torah of the New Testament was not created. We can go to scriptures all through the text. We have Isaiah 40 and 20 that states this claim. We know that Yahweh's creations was good. Genesis 1 and 10. Actually, In Genesis itself, he states that his creation is good over 5 times. Whereas when we look at the Gnostic texts, these are the things that we see. We see that their God or their creator was created. When we look at books like the Secret Book of John, it says, without the invisible spirit's consent, without the knowledge of her partner, she brought forth it. And that it is the God, demiurge, who they call Yahweh, into being. This creation was not good. Another Gnostic God created the world. I'm sorry. Now, this is after this evil God created the world, and this is his mother, which they call the Holy Spirit, Sophia, being observed. And it states, when she saw the evil that had taken place and the theft of light that her son had committed, she repented. So we see that this creator, his creation was not good. So again, I'm eager to see where is this plagiarism. Now we have 2 different narratives of main characters. Yahshua's life is spoken by the prophets was to do the will of the Most High. All that the Father giveth me shall come to me, and him that cometh to me I will no wise cast out. For I come down from heaven not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. And this is clearly showing different intentions of Yahweh and the Gnostic God, demiurge Yahweh, as well as Yahshua and the Jesus of the Gnostics, which is the first major distinction. So we see that Yahshua is doing the will of the Creator, whereas this Gnostic Jesus, he's fighting against this evil Creator God, which is what we see in books like Marcion. So Yahshua also preached that this message is for all to accept, and nothing is deemed secret knowledge in regards to salvation. And we see this in Luke 8:17. His birth by perpetual virginity. Into proto-evangelium of James, Mary remains a virgin after delivery. A golden mist descended upon Mary, and when it faded, she held the baby Jesus in her arms. In the infancy gospel of Thomas, they say Jesus, after a boy bumps into him, curses him, and he dies. Then the parents in outrage confront Mary and Joseph, where Jesus strikes them blind. Totally different Yahshua.
2-minute warning.
Divergent theology. The content and teachings of the Gospel of Thomas differ significantly from the Gospels. Even Bart Ehrman points this out. So that takes care of direction of narrative. Now let's look at the New Testament, and events are actually referenced by the Gnostic text and not the other way around. Let's go to let's see what AI says about this. Did New Testament steal from Gnostic texts? The canonical Gospels did not plagiarize Gnostic texts. In fact, historical and biblical scholarship indicates the opposite. Gnostic writings such as the Gospel of Thomas generally emerge later, 2nd century or later, and often use the names of apostles to gain authority, aiming to reinterpret Yahshua's life and teachings. That's from AI Overview. The canon Gospels did not plagiarize Gnostic texts. Historically, it's the other way around. That's from ChatGTP. Scholarly perspective. Many scholars argue that Gnostic texts were written to gain credibility by retroactively attributing them to 1st century figures. These coming from Copilot. In summary, while there are thematic overlaps between the New Testament and Gnostic texts, the New Testament does not plagiarize Gnostic writings. Instead, it presents a coherent narrative and theological framework that stands apart from Gnostic beliefs and practices.
15 seconds.
So that takes care of that. So when my opponent rebuttals, I want him to speak on or show direct plagiarism which is this is an example, or he's going to have to give us these points right here and refute these points. If he does not do that, and from what I've seen, and I
That
will,
is time.
he has not done so far.
All right, all right, all right. If this was the bottom of the first round, if you are following us, the stream will end after this round. Please join us at www.youtube.com/live. I'll put it on the screen, so copy and paste that, screenshot that, and then jump over there to the actual uh, channel. Please jump over there and keep up with us if you dig.
Hey, send it. Hey, can you send it to my inbox? I mean, I'm gonna send my email to you so that way you can send it to my inbox so that way I can do it off my computer.
Oh, you don't gotta change.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you were talking about us.
No, I was talking to the guests watching.
Okay, cool.
All right, so just a heads up, we are going into the second round. Yeah, when you're ready, share your screen so that I can, or share your presentation so I can get you back up and running. 12 minutes. I'm putting it on now. It's on stage. Can you see that? And I start the time when you start talking.
Yeah, I can see it. All right, let's go ahead and get back into it. All right. If anyone was paying attention to what my opponent said earlier, he had showed a composition of the book of Mark, and it said that it to 80 CE. What I shown early in the presentation, I shown 30 CE. That's a big difference and a big gap. So I'm gonna say it again. If I'm showing a source, according to scholars, right, that predates the Orthodox Christianity movement and its biblical Canaan, how can Gnostics steal from Orthodox Christianity? But I'm gonna get it back into Irenaeus because that's where I left off at, right? And it says, right, Irenaeus is historically significant for being the first to explicify names and solidify the four canonical Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. In his work against heresies in 180 A.D., he helped establish the New Testament canon by defending these four as authoritative, countering Gnostic teachings. So basically, this brother, he went and labeled some texts that was already labeled anonymous prior to Marcion already having these canonical names like Luke and Paul in his canon prior to the biblical canon being established. So not only did they create a biblical canon, but it was all about authority. They wanted authority. You know, and Christians today ain't going to tell you that Gnostics was the rivals of Orthodox Christianity. Right? It says Marcion canon predates Irenaeus' work. It says Marcion predates Irenaeus' work. Marcion 85 to 160 CE. Irenaeus is 130 to 202 CE. Marcion was active and established his canon, including his version of Gospel of Luke and the Pauline Epistles in the 130s to 140 CE. Irenaeus wrote his major work, Adversities, Heresies Against Heresies, which heavily criticized Marcion around 180 CE. So we got a guy already so we got a text that's from Nag Hammadi, that's a Gnostic text that predates biblical Canaan. We got Egyptians that was reading this text. You get what I'm saying? Not only that, the text that I shown is 30 CE. The brother read a composition. He read a composition that dates only to 80 CE. If you guys do the math, you will see which one came first, and you will see who stole what. It says, who is Althanius, right? Bishop of Alexandria. It says in his 39th festal letter of 367 CE, Althanius, bishop of Alexandria, became the first to exclusively list all 27 books of the modern New Testament as canonical, written to resolve dispute over scriptures. This letter provided the definitive, authoritative list that aligns with the modern biblical canons that we have today, cementing his role in shaping the New Testament. So now we have Althanius. We have Irenaeus, who gave the names to 4 gospels that was already labeled anonymous. And prior to that, Marcion already had the name of Luke, already had the name of Paul. He was already dealing with these writings. He was dealing with the book of John, the secret book of John, and things like that. They were dealing with the word gnosis, the word logos. You get what I'm saying? These are words you can find in the Bible today. You can find the word logos. You can find the word gnosis. You can find the word wisdom. You know what I mean? That is Sophia. Sophia is wisdom. We all know that according to Gnostics, right? But this guy, right, he gave a list of 27 books of modern New Testament. These are the testaments that you have today. These are the testaments that you have today. And if you look at it, it says that this decree came 367 CE. So this came way later. So now we have Irenaeus and we have Althanius, 2 Orthodox fathers, right? That comes later after Marcion. So Marcion already established the biblical canon already. He already established one. So who stole what? Dates matter. The origin of everything matters. It's like dealing with the primary source. You got to have a primary source, right? It says Irenaeus copied from Gnostic texts. The brother said that the New Testament wasn't copied from Gnosticism. Apparently, the brother don't know about Irenaeus. The brother don't know about Althanius. He don't know about the core / the kennel of the Book of Thomas. He don't know about these things because if you notice, the brother haven't dove into none of those type of dates because he don't have nothing to go against these dates that I'm showing. Because it says Irenaeus copied from Gnostic texts, right? It is historically accurate that Irenaeus of Lyons of CE 130 to 202 had Gnostic texts in his possession, or at least had direct access to them, and copied, quoted / summarized them extensively in his foundational work against heresies, heresies written around 180 AD. So this is the same guy that labeled the 4 gospels and gave them their names. Now he is copying from Gnostic texts. He is quoting from the texts to establish his biblical canon, or the biblical canon that we have today, known as the New Testament or the 4 gospels. It says the retrospective of construction proof. I don't know if the brother know what retrospective construction is dealing with, but the brother have not dove into this too as well, right? It says leaders like Irenaeus and Eusebius manufactured successions lists centuries later to provide a legal pedigree that the original 1st century didn't need. The construction. It says to counter this, Irenaeus argued, right, to counter the Gnostics, to counter Marcion texts, to label them heresy, but then later on have the same texts in your hand or in your desk, copying and quoting from them. You get what I'm saying? Like the book of Luke. You get what I'm saying? Or the book of John, things like that. You get what I'm saying? Like, how can you disquote John and say, well, we're not going to deal with the book of John because it deals with light. it deals with some type of Gnostic form. But then later on, and have 3 books of John in the New Testament. You get what I'm saying? It says the construction. It says to counter this, Irenaeus argued that the true teachings were public. He created or formalized lists of bishops, most famously for Rome, linking the current leader back to Peter and Paul. See, now they create a political movement. They creating a retro construction. You get what I'm saying? Why? To attack the Gnostics now. They're trying to attack the Gnostics and trying to create a biblical canon and say, well, look, this is the true formalized canon right here. Those canon that them boys over there teaching is false. Don't listen to them. You get what I'm saying? So now they create a political movement now, just off religion. And it says the critical view. It says historians note that the first century Roman church was likely governed by a plurality of elders rather than a single monarchy bishop. Irenaeus' list may have flattered this complex history into a neat linear line to create a legal pedigree that didn't exist in that time. You see that? So now they didn't went to the Roman Catholic Church or the Romans, and now they didn't sign a pedigree to go against the Gnostics and say, well, we have legal documents now saying that what we're showing is the true doctrine and what you have is false. So now there's creating a political movement against Gnosticism by creating a Bible to establish and say, well, this is the true Gnostic, oh, well, not true Gnostic, but this is the true Bible right here, and that the teachings of Jesus is within this, is within these Bibles or within these texts. That is a whole lot. It says the path to construction. It says the concept of a fixed New Testament only began to emerge in the mid-2nd century. Remember I said earlier, and I shown earlier, prior to the 1st century, they did not have a biblical New Testament. Everything was labeled anonymous. Nobody was using the book of Luke, the book of Mark, the book of Matthew. At this time in the 1st century and further back, those pre-Orthodox Christians, they were using the Septuagint. They was using Greek Testament texts. They were using Hebrew texts. They did not even have a biblical text. They didn't have their own, right? It says it didn't emerge into the mid-2nd century. So how did the Gnostics again steal from Orthodox Christianity? And this is just based off forensic evidence. This is just based off timeline dates.
60
I
seconds.
didn't even go into the. I didn't even go into the parallel yet. You know what I mean? And show the word for words within both texts. I didn't even go into that yet. I'm just establishing the dates because I want everybody to see that what I've shown was 30 CE. 30 CE. And the brother brought up a composition that dated to 80 CE, which was the book of Mark. Right? And it says it wasn't a response, right? So they created a New Testament or a biblical canon. It emerged in the 2nd century. Why did it emerge in the 2nd century? It emerged in the 2nd century. Why? In response to Marcion, that the Orthodox fathers like Irenaeus began to define their own list. They began to find their own texts, their own biblical canon. The retrospective construction, I've noted, to claim they were simply remembering what had always been there.
That's time.
Appreciate it. We getting back into it. Thank you.
All right, we are at the bottom of the 2nd round. Shout outs to my brothers Raymoe, Bantu, and Gideon Yard and Yezero. We're gonna get this going. We're gonna keep this moving. Gideon, whenever you're ready, share your screen, and I will add it on so that you can start your 2nd half. Let me know when you sharing so I can pull it up.
Let me get it started. See.
Shout out to all the supporters in the building. Look, this a new channel, Worldview Wars. If you rocking out with us, hit that like button, hit that bell icon, subscribe. This a new channel. We try and get it moving and grooving. You know, we're gonna bust this one down too. So, you know, let's get it going. Hit that like button. There's 15 people. Hopefully, we have at least 10 out of 15 on the like tip. You know, whenever you got people coming, they don't always hit that button, but you know what I'm saying? We just try and keep the metrics going. So,
All right, let's get it. Let me share my screen. All right. All right, let's see what we got here. And this is 12 minutes.
yes, sir. 12 minutes. That's
All right.
that. I thought when you start talking, you might want to make the screen bigger.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
All right, there we go. There we go. All right, I start when you start.
All right. So, all right, let's go. All right, so as we seen in my opponent's presentation, the only thing anonymous was his source material. I presented radiocarbon dating according to several people, but specifically academia.edu. And his comparing Marcion to Irenaeus is non sequitur because they both produce gospels and no Nag Hammadi texts were in Marcion's canon of his New Testament. So he's trying to, infer because he's not proving it. And even when we look at the material itself, it does not show any type of Gnostic text being produced by Marcion that we see being used by the Gnostics, specifically the Nag Hammadi text. So basically what he's trying to do is just take us down a rabbit hole. Nothing my opponent said or is saying addresses plagiarism. It's only basically talking about the doctrine and which one he can esoterically reason within himself, which is earlier. This statement or source does not prove plagiarism, whether direct or intellectual. My opponent all night, I have yet to see, I can maybe count one source that he's used. The sources that he's using, I mean, I've even seen one copy and paste where he copy and pasted the source number, but it didn't show the source. That's sloppy work, my brother. You need to kind of get more in depth. His reliance on the church fathers as his sources, and those sources not showing plagiarism is another example why my opponent did not show the New Testament plagiarizing Gnostic texts. Irenaeus copied from Gnostic texts. It is historically accurate that an Irenaeus of Lyons had Gnostic texts in his possession, or at least had direct access to them, and copied, quoted, summarized them extensively in his foundational work against heresies, written around 180 AD. Now, that this would be a good source if the title of the debate was "Did the book against heresies plagiarized from Gnostic texts?" But unfortunately, my opponent doesn't realize that this isn't the topic of this debate. This is the New Testament, not against heresies. And this is just an example of his source material that he's drawing from and how he's presenting it to us. C 130-202. Speaking of Irenaeus of Lyons, I mean, this is the only material that he's given us as far as for us to rely on. Irenaeus first to name the four gospels. Irenaeus is historically significant for being the first to explicitly name and solidify the four canon gospels, Mark, Luke, John, in his work against heresies, 180 AD. He helped establish the New Testament canon by defending these four as authoritative, countering Gnostic teachings. So, what this brother, again, he's bringing material that's actually defeating his point, because these gospels that he's talking about and Irenaeus writing about the gospels has nothing to do with the plagiarism that he's accusing the gospels of. This work against heresies actually was the end of widespread Gnostic writings, and it solidified them down to the four original synoptic gospels, or rather three: Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So again, he's not proving my point, or rather, he's not proving his point, and he's just continually trying to bring us down a rabbit hole. Nothing, again, like I said, he says address plagiarism, only doctrine, only his opinion, what he can think or surmise. He keeps bringing up the Gospel of Thomas. The Gospel of Thomas is dated at 2nd century. So that is the earliest of his Gnostic texts that he's producing. So my opponent, like I said, he fell short as far as what he's presenting to the people, and we're just going to continue to see that. The mind of the Gnostics, which is the non-Hammadic community, is what I'm about. So among the found non-Hammadic texts was a copy of Plato's Republic, which clearly deviates from the Israelite worldview, from its story of creation to the rule of government to the understanding of the spirit. All deviations from the New Testament. So again, my brother, I'm trying to see it. I guess the time is up. You're not going to show us what plagiarism occurred, and you cannot show it even in an intellectual or thought manner. You can't show it according to that. So your rebuttal, you didn't address no points that I laid forward, while I'm addressing specifically points that you made. So that's what I'm trying to understand from your presentation. And again, Gnostic text, it teaches us that fasting, praying, and giving to the poor is wrong. It brings condemnation on one's soul and actually harms your spirit. Whereas the gospel teaches us that giving to the poor is the only religion one can practice. And prayer and fasting are ways we get closer to the Creator, whom they call the All. Ruminations about its true meaning and revelation is not the point we must get distracted with. We're talking about plagiarism. Again, the brother he's fighting for the dating of the text, of the Gnostic text. That's not even the discussion. The debate at hand is the plagiarism. And as I showed many times, that we see that the Gnostic texts, they lean on the understanding of the New Testament text. It's, as shown earlier, the Gnostic texts are dated to 2nd and 3rd centuries AD, while the Gospels are dated to the 1st century, decades after the actual event. My opponent did not prove his point on this fact alone. He has not produced any substantial evidence showing that the Gnostic texts predate the Gospels, only his opinion and his thought, and all his allusions to such were not backed by scholarly evidence, just his esoteric understanding. Like I said earlier, he did not even show or address my point of speaking of the preeminence of the New Testament over the Gnostic text. He didn't show me people that existed outside of the Gnostic text that we hear spoken of, like the New Testament does. That will give the New Testament authority and providence over the Gnostic text, because we see these people, and like I said, it's many others. But again, when it comes to his, we get nothing. It's actually a plagiarizer. The Gnostic text regularly relies on the reader to have familiarity with stories only found in the gospel. The resurrection. Certain Gnostic texts, such as the Sophia of Jesus, contain stories starting after the crucifixion, whereas the reader would have to have or know the original telling of said story, which is contained in the Gospels. J.R. Porter is a professor emeritus of theology at the University of Exeter and a former fellow of Oriel College, University of Oxford. His works include The Illustrated Guide to the Bible, Moses and Monarchy, and Proclamation and Presence. He has contributed to various reference works such as the Harper Bible Dictionary and the Oxford Companion to the Bible. Porter's scholarship covers Old and New Testament pseudepigrapha and New Testament apocrypha, providing a comprehensive view of biblical texts and their theological relevance. J.R. Porter states that because around half of the sayings in Thomas have parallels in the Synoptic Gospels, it is possible that the sayings in the Gospel of Thomas were selected directly from the canon Gospels and were either reproduced more or less exactly or amended to fit the author's distinctive theological outlook. In other words, the Gospel of Thomas author drew upon the Synoptic Gospels and he put his own spin on it. Again, did my opponent show these things? Did he show direct plagiarism? Did he even address the points that I made? I would say no, not refuted. So it'd be interesting to see because in this Q&A, hopefully he can gain some ground and maybe show that there was plagiarism in the New Testament. Other than that, I don't see where he has a leg to stand on. He has not shown these things. He didn't even attempt to show the literal definition of stealing in literary works, which is plagiarism. He did not show that at all. He did not. He just attempted to infer that it happened. So with that, I'll just yield my time and we can get to the Q&A.
All right, all right. Uh, Time is yielded with 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. I am going to remove your presentation. Let me. I'm gonna start the time because because Yaya started the presentation first round. Gideon, you are the Q&A guys opening up now. I'm gonna put 12 minutes on the clock. I would just say, Yaya, make sure you turn your speakers down so we don't get feedback. Because once y'all both get to start talking, we may hear an echo, and I'm not going to be able to control the sound. So just make sure your speaker is not bleeding into your mic. You know. So whenever you guys are ready, shout outs to Michelle Turns, shout out to Step Into the Light. Yes, we are Worldview Wars, and we got the city on go. Shout out to my man Hemi, the chant for that quotable. But I got the time at 12 minutes. Gideon, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly. Raymoe, you ready?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. When Gideon start answering questions, I start the time.
Hey, what's going on, my brother Yaya? How you doing, bro?
What's going on with you, bro? What's going on with you?
Not much, man. Good debate. Appreciate participating. My question is, so when you came or we agreed to the title, did the New Testament plagiarize or steal from Gnostic texts? Could you give us a quick definition of what you know plagiarism to be?
Plagiarism has many definitions when you're dealing with the word. That's why I use the word stolen for a reason, even though you could plagiarism was a more better word, but I use the word stolen because as I shown within the debate, I shown that dates actually matters, even though you didn't actually disprove the dates. But I actually showed that the dates actually predates the Orthodox Christianity, and what you brought out was actually false. But uh, yeah, that's my answer to your question, brother.
Okay. So, so I understand you have different euphemisms for the word, how you frame it, and it's emotional, and I can understand that when you say stealing. But when we're looking at the written word, it's called plagiarism. So, did you show us a direct example of what I showed in the slide as it regards to Joe Biden committing plagiarism? Did you show that to us tonight?
Yes, I actually
Okay, can you
showed.
go to that? Go to that slide. Can you repeat it to us?
Yeah, I can actually go to that slide. I can actually go to that slide. I can show you the plagiarism. Can you put up my screen real fast?
You got it.
All right.
You're on the screen.
All right. Right here with Irenaeus copying from the Nazi text. Uh, by someone copying from an original text that wasn't really theirs, and then try to claim the actual text that actually produced the real
Okay.
source and say that it was hearsay.
I know we have a
That's
certain amount of time, so can I stop it since you presented it?
that's stealing.
Okay.
All right.
So can I show my screen real quick?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
All right. So I'm gonna go to a direct example of what I'm speaking of. This right here will be what I was expecting. And when you show something that was a source that was inferring that Irenaeus had Gnostic texts and he could have drawn from it for his book, not the gospel. And even in that case, you didn't show us the example where I'm specifically showing you the exact sentence that Biden plagiarized from the Fordham Law Review in May 1965. So you didn't show that. So we can stop.
All right.
My next question: what was the sources that you've used for the radiocarbon dating? And just a quick synopsis of that. What was the radiocarbon dating for those Gnostic texts that you provided to us?
The actual datings that I shown was accurate. Oh, sorry about that. It was accurate dating. The datings I actually shown was dated from 30 to 60 CE, prior to the dates that you shown from 80
And
centuries.
what was tested? Who ran the test and who published the information?
Okay. Can you bring my screen up for me real fast?
You got it.
One second. Okay. Just give me. Okay, let me go back there, because then I'll be going further down into that. So then I just go up and show you this source from historians. One name. Give me 1 second. All right. I'm gonna show you this one, and then I'm gonna show you the next one. All right, it says the Gospel of Thomas manuscript dates to around second century slash early third century, but scholars agree to preserve early traditions in simpler and purer forms than or what is found in the Gospels today. Scholars call the core Thomas saying Lair Colonel Thomas and note it to 40 to 60 CE. Around 40% of the material Thomas is found within the Gospels. Right, so we have scholars already.
So let me stop you right there. This is my time.
Yes, sir.
So that's a sleight of hand what you show right there, right? So just break this. We're gonna do this real fast. So what you're showing us is the source that you're showing actually agrees with what I'm saying. The Gospel of Thomas manuscript dates to around second century, early third century, but scholars agree. Now, that's the question. What scholars agree? It preserved earlier traditions in simpler and purer forms than are found in the Gospels. So that's you can't radiocarbon date something that doesn't exist.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So,
okay.
so hold on, let me just finish. That's what
Go
I'm
ahead.
saying.
Go ahead.
So
My fault.
that
Sorry.
that is not a source talking about radiocarbon dating of the material. So what we have as far as radiocarbon dating, it sources it to around the second century. Now, secondly, these scholars you're talking about, it would be nice for us to see what scholars you're talking about, because when I brought forward the scholars, I provided their resume, so to speak, in some instances, showing their credentials. So some of these scholars we have to question until we see who these scholars are. So what would be your other source for the radiocarbon dating of the Gnostic text?
That's actually is my my Corbin dating because John
Okay, so
John
that's okay. Fine, fine. This is my
I'm
question
finna,
and answer, sir.
I'm
So
finna,
calm
I
down, my brother.
I was gonna
Hold
give
on,
you
my
the
brother.
name. I
Hold
was
on,
gonna
my
give you
brother.
the name so you can look
Hold
it
on.
up. Okay.
Hold on.
All right.
So again, this is not presenting anything in the realm of carbon dating showing earlier than second century carbon dating. It's actually is you actually showing what I'm saying right now. You're just misinterpreting it. This is called dying at your own source. Whereas when I show, matter of fact, let me show you.
Look, listen,
Uh,
listen.
All right.
When it says,
let
listen.
me
It says the Gospel
let me
of
show you.
Thomas manuscripts
Get
dates
my
to the
sheet.
third century, but scholars, bro. But scholars.
Right, exactly, and that's when I was explaining to
I'm
you.
telling
What do you
look, you
mean
gotta understand. Look,
by
you got,
that
see,
scholar?
that's what we got.
So
That's what we got justice
let
for.
me show
They
you.
gonna
Let me
see.
show you what I let me
They gonna
show you
see.
what I mean by that, my brother. Let me show you what I mean by that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm showing the sources that I'm bringing forward of the dating, according to Bible Hub, early mid 50s to early 60 AD, 50 to 60 AD,
That still don't predates what I've shown, brother.
AD to
50 to
90.
60.
Hold on, but this is the thing though. This is the thing I want you to understand, and I'm about to show you right
What
now.
you showing it don't
Hold on,
predates
hold on.
nothing I
This
shown
is
you.
what I'm saying, right? This is it right here. Here it comes right here. Radiocarbon dating indicates a possible range for Codex 1 between 241 and 387 with a 99.7 point probability. So
That
that's the
still don't
earliest
predate
of the
what I've
Gnostic text, and that's
no,
dated
it's
to
not.
241. You're saying no, it's
Brother,
not, but I asked you where did it come
what I've
or what
shown
sources you
was the
showed.
core
So
that dates to
again,
30th
that
century
source that you showed,
CE,
my
brother.
hold on, my brother, hold on, my
You
brother.
can't debunk
So
that.
that source that you showed does not give
You
any
can't debunk that.
providence or any preeminence of the Gnostic text over the New Testament. You have not showed it. So this is my other question, right? Since you didn't show direct plagiarism, you didn't show even allusions to plagiarism. Tell me
I
why
showed you
you think
Iranians. I showed you Iranians copied and stole from Gnostics.
again. So Arrhenius
If
is
that's not
after the
plagiarism,
Gospels.
if that's
That's
not plagiarism, I
after
said
the
he
Gospels.
stole from Gnosticism, brother. I said he stole from Gnosticism. He's the one that labeled your four Gospels.
Right. Again, and in that text that you were showing,
You
it
even
was
lied and
speaking
said the
of,
Gospels wasn't anonymous.
this is what I'm saying. But the source that you provided is not proving what you're saying. The
Every
source you
source I
provide,
provided
hold
was
on,
going to
hold on.
show and
The
shown,
source
brother.
that you provided only showed that he had Gnostic texts in some of his works that he read, possibly, and
So
it
so that means
possibly, and it possibly could have
it says
aided him in his
it said it
writing.
was a historical fact, brother. It was a
Right.
historical
Whether
fact.
whether it was a
So
historical
this was
fact or not,
historically. This was
Irenaeus
historic. It's
did
not
not
hearsay.
write the Gospels.
So this brother copies from us. He stole from us.
Listen, were the Gospels already in circulation before Irenaeus? Yes or no?
No,
Okay, so that's
because
another thing you should have shown. You have not
I
shown
did.
that.
I
So,
showed you. I showed you
so
that Marcion had a text prior before the establishment of a biblical
okay, so
canon.
you again, this is called dying at your source,
How
right?
is that not in my source? If I'm showing dates that predates
So
everything you're showing,
who was
who
first?
stole what?
Irenaeus? Who was first? Irenaeus or Marcion?
Marcion predates Iranians, brother.
Okay, so if he have the same gospels, because his canon basically was the same, he just excluded some of the works that Irenaeus and later Catholic with the Council of Nicaea formed
So
into
did he
canon.
excluded the book of Luke?
He excluded,
Did
but
That's
he
that
exclude
does
the
not
book?
brother,
time.
that does not show plagiarism. You're
Did he excluded the
misunderstanding
book of
your
Luke?
own argument.
Did he excluded the book of Luke? So you just agreed that Marcion came before Irenaeus. Now we see that Marcion had a book called Luke. Now we got Irenaeus coming on the scene, naming the four
12
gods.
minutes, Raymoe. It's on
My
you.
Now,
brother, you
show my
keep doing it
screen.
to
Show my
yourself.
screen real fast. Show my
If
All
screen.
right.
if
Show
you
my
show
screen.
the source with Irenaeus having Gnostic
Show my
writings
screen. I
amongst
got 12
his own
minutes.
books, and that
I got
influenced the
12 minutes. Show
gospel,
my screen real
how
fast.
We on
can
you. We on you. It's on his time too, Gideon.
yeah, okay, I did 5 seconds.
You can talk
How
Gideon.
then, if
Do your thing.
Marcion had the same gospel as Irenaeus, how can Irenaeus add it to those gospels? But go ahead.
I showed you everything, brother. Right? So it says when was the New Testament solidified? The final list of the 27 books wasn't solidified until 367 AD, and Easter letter by Althanius of Alexandria. So you didn't even have a book, brother. Your book didn't even become finalized until another Orthodox father finalized it. His name was Althanius of Alexandria. It says P52 fragment of John comes later, right? This is the fragment that every Orthodox Christianity run to. They run to this and say, "See, I told you we had the oldest fragment, the oldest document." Let's read P52 point fragment of John comes later. Physical scraps only tell us when a book was copied, not when the ideas were born. Let me read that again. Physical scraps. That's what the fragment of John is. It's just a physical scrap. Only tells us when a book was copied, not when the ideas were born. The Thomas Kernel, what I showed in the beginning of the debate, represents an oral tradition from the 30s and 40s CE, decades before the Jonin, which is John, community added their Greek philosophical layers to that thing had popped up. I can't really read that. Okay, layers and anti Thomas polemics, right? Let's keep reading. It said a critical strategy. Mark, Matthew, Luke, John was a fourth century tool used to create a legal pedigree for the Roman state. A brother actually said that in the comment. I think it was Steve. Steve actually said that in the comment. He's when I was talking about this earlier about how they created this as a political movement. You get what I'm saying? Just to be an rival of the Gnostics. You get what I'm saying? Boom. It said the logos. Remember I said it earlier how
Don't
Orthodox
forget this the Q&A round. This is Q&A. Make sure you
So,
ask questions.
so, bro, I need to ask you this question, right? So, where did the words logos come from?
Logos is a word steeped in Jewish Greek philosophy.
So, where did it originate?
It originated with the Greeks.
Okay, or Gnostics, Greeks?
Some Gnostics are Greeks, yes.
Okay, well, was the Nag Hammadi written in Coptic?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So the word Legos is a Greek word. You agree, right?
Yes.
All right, cool. So the concept of Legos, would you agree that that concept started with Gnostics and Platoism first?
That word and that concept, all of that, I would give you that, yes.
Okay, cool. Now let me read this. Now that the brother is on one accord with me, you should have been on one accord with me when we first started in the beginning. That's why I say dates matter, brother. See, if I had enough time, I was gonna get to the hijacking. I was gonna get to the plagiarism. You know what I mean? 12 minutes, that's cool, but I need more time there. Let me just read this. The concept of the Legos, the word, was a staple of Gnostics and Plato thought long before the Gospel of John was finalized. Would you agree?
What's that?
I said the concept of Legos, right, which is the word, was a staple of Gnostic and Plato thought long before the Gospel of John was finalized. Would you agree?
I would not agree that the word was established by the Legos. The Legos usurped the understanding of the word that we understand in the New Testament, which comes from the Old Testament,
So
which
you're saying the word doesn't come
predates any Gnostic text.
Okay, so you saying the word doesn't come before John?
What do you mean the word doesn't?
Okay, when we say logos, right? You remember in the Bible it says John 1:1, the word was with God and the word was God, right? In Gnostics, we don't use the word, we use logos, right? So when you
Right.
just said what you just said contradicts the Bible. So I'm gonna ask you again, you know what I mean? Does the word comes before John?
It's not that I contradict the Bible. You're just not understanding. It's almost
I'm understanding.
the argument when you try to say that black people were slaves and you respond with slaves or Slavs. So what you're doing is an etymological fallacy.
I'm
So
not, brother. It
when
was
we're
just a yes or
looking
no.
at
That's all.
the logos was adapted into Gnostic Christians to be what we call the word. And the everyday word in Koine Greek for word is logos. So that was just a transliteration. So again, you're going off a lot of presumptions
Uh,
and esoteric speculation.
it's
You're not
not
giving us any
speculation,
source.
brother. It's facts. It's
You're
actual
not
facts. It's proven.
it's so bad. You're copying and
This is
pasting.
proven, brother. This is proven.
You would rather show us the page number
So
instead of the source.
so
That's
so
how
look.
bad this
Okay.
presentation is,
So
my
look.
brother.
So how do the Bible claim? How do the Bible claim their authority?
What do you mean? How did it claim his
Well,
authority?
how do Chris how do Christians claim?
It comes from the life of Yeshua that was written down by the authors.
A physical, right?
A physical, yes, a
Okay,
physical
cool. Now
existence
look
of
at the screen,
Yeshua.
guys. So now he agreed with Irenaeus. Look, now Irenaeus said this. Irenaeus saw that the secession argument was effective. He stole the idea of a spiritual lineage, but moved it from a spiritual realization to a physical laying of the hands. This brother literally just said it was physical. So this brother agreed with
Yeshua's life
Irenaeus
was
and the church
physical, my
fathers.
brother.
So would you agree with
Yeshua's life
that?
was real.
So do you
When I say physical, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
His life
Iranians mean
was
the
a
same thing,
real
brother.
occurrence.
Iranians mean the same thing. Gnostics
Right.
dealing with
And the
spirituality.
gospels attest to the same thing.
Mhm.
Extra biblical sources attest to the same thing, specifically Josephus.
Cool. But okay, is your
So
Bible based
again,
off physical or spirituality?
all you're doing is showing us that the Gnostic text,
I'm just showing.
it
I'm just showing
relies
you.
and
I'm just
references
showing you
to
what your
the
text
gospel,
shows. That's
not
it.
the other way around, my brother.
I'm
And we're
just.
still waiting for sources.
I'm showing you the source, brother. Can you look at it? Why did
Let me ask you, what
let
is
me ask
chapter
you
21?
let
And
me
that
ask
source
you
you're
let me
showing
ask
me
you this
right
question.
there,
What is chapter 21? Because that's what you need to do for the people.
Why did
show us the source.
Why did
You're actually committing real-time plagiarism.
Christianity
You do know that, right?
Why did the Orthodox Christianity reject the Gospel of John? I'm asking you a question. Why did the Orthodox Christianity reject the Gospel of John?
They did not. My question to you, my brother,
okay,
why is you committing real-time plagiarism?
What source do you have to prove that the Orthodox Christianity did not reject the book of John?
Judges, I wanted to be noted that this
brother,
brother
listen,
is
I'm
actually
asking you a question, brother, because on my screen it says many early scholars agreed that the Gospel of John was originally a Gnostic-leaning text. So the brother said that they did not reject it. I asked the brother to show something on the screen, because when the brother asked me to pour some up on the screen about Iranians, I did that.
So now
I'm asking the brother, can he prove what?
Again, thank you, my brother. You've been proving my point all night.
Okay,
You've been dying at your source all night.
It's okay,
all
brother.
Night.
It's okay. Look at that. It said the theft. If you know what theft means, the theft.
Yeah.
The great church initially.
Now this is a slide of theft. I agree.
But once they realized that they couldn't beat the Gnostics, they absorbed it. They added
your own thought?
layers like doubting.
Thomas, is this your own thought?
The optics in
no,
chapter
this is not your own thought.
To retain the book. Man, this is your church fathers. This is your church fathers. Look at that. Y'all even listen. You even where did
what's your question, my brother?
Okay, I'm
been pontificating long enough. What are your questions?
Where did monetism started at? Like what is the origin of monetism?
Show us.
I'm asking you a question, brother. What is the origin?
I don't know.
Oh my God. So this how we plan it, but when you ask me questions, I answer.
All I know is you're showing us by the 4th century.
Because
again,
if you look
based on date of origin, it can't be
theft. Answer no question that I'm asking them because it's facts. Look at that.
Another example of dying at your source,
right?
The Nag Hammadi says this. For me, bro.
The Nag Hammadi says this.
Their
chief is blind.
I'm actually on Yahya Pilot.
Okay, so look, I'm asking you this then. Why did your God claim to be the only God as the same deity in the Nag Hammadi?
It's definitely not the same deity. The same.
Okay, cool.
Which I showed, and I gave you ample time to rebut. I showed in my slide direction of narrative and divergence of characters. You did not show how is it plagiarism when these two creators are totally different. So your own text
says God right here. So who is this? Who is this?
Says creation
I am
was
God, and there is no other but me.
Wait.
Who is that? Is that your God?
I don't know what you're presenting to us. Again,
I'm asking you.
This is another example of plagiarism. What is these threes? What is that number 9? What is that number? This is a teaching moment for you, my brother. Don't you ever do this in your life. Don't you ever copy and paste a slide with your sources
I am God and there's no other but me.
Aware that you're copying and pasting a source number.
According to your Bible, did your God say that?
That's Yahya sin.
Yeah, his God said that. Look at that. Isaiah 45:5, guys. His God said, I am the Lord, and there is none else. There is no God but me. Let's go back to it. Nag Hammadi. I am God. There is no other but me. So is this the same God?
Of course not. Of course not, Yahya.
How come it's not?
Because Yaboleth was created. The Gnostic God was created, correct?
Okay.
The Gnostic God was created, correct?
So you didn't,
right?
Just like your God. That's the same God. Your God was created.
No, our God was not created. And when we look at my presentation, I showed that. See, that's what I'm saying. You just can't go and say stuff and not
created within it. So who is this Adam that's been created?
Okay, so show us in the Bible, which you should have did.
I just showed you.
Show us where Yahweh was created.
This is the Q&A questioning round.
Show us where Yahweh was created.
Brother, let me read it for you again. I am the Lord, and there is no God but me. Is this your God?
Okay, you're dying at your source again.
According to Isaiah 45:5, is this your God?
There is no Yah. There is no.
Is this your God? This your God, right?
Yes, correct.
Right? Correct. He said that he's the only God. There's no God but him, right?
Correct.
I am God. There is no other but me. This is your God, bro.
Right. Okay.
I know. This is the Nag Hammadi. I know this your God.
That's time.
I know. Thank you for agreeing, brother. Thank you.
Well, we are done on the Q&A. We're done on the.
Hey, can you take my screen down?
Quickly, please.
We done on the Q&A. We're gonna do the 3-minute closings. Raymoe, it is on you for 3-minute closing. You ready, Raymoe? I'll start when you start. 3-minute closing.
All right, cool. Well, as you can see, guys, I want to give a shout out to the platform, give a shout out to my opponent for giving me the opportunity to debate him. Once again, dates do matter. He did not show any dates that predates any date that I've shown according to the kennel of the Gospel of Thomas. I also shown that the texts that we have today, which is the New Testament, was used as a political movement because of a rival that was gaining more religious, or put it this way, more spiritual status than the Orthodox Christianity. I proved that the biblical Canaan or New Testament, they was anonymous. Nobody was using them. I proved Marcion had the texts before any biblical Canaan was established. You know what I mean? The brother couldn't even touch up on the dates because the brother didn't know about the dates. You know what I mean? If you notice, the brother really was going off my slides and trying to really downplay my slides because he came to a logical end. You get what I'm saying? The brother even sat up there and agreed that Irenaeus came after Marcion, and that Marcion did have a Luke and the apostles' texts prior to a biblical Canaan. That 30 CE to 60 CE is deadly. I want everybody to see what I've shown. Everybody can look it up. Go look up the core/kennel of the Gospel of Thomas, and you will see that date predates the biblical Canaan by 200 years.
30 seconds.
30 CE to 60 CE. The brother shown some stuff from 50 to 70 CE. Then he showed something from 80 CE. Still didn't predate anything that I shown. So the brother has not proven himself when it comes to this Gnosticism still in from the biblical Canaan. He did not prove that Gnostics stole from the biblical Canaan. The brother actually agreed that the logos was a Greek word. You know what I mean? And the Greek, we even agreed that Gnostics was using that word. You get what I'm saying? So really, if everybody was watching this debate, you can see the brother really ain't proved anything.
And
that's
pretty
cool. That was light up and glitty, but for sure. Right on, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And that was Raymoe Bantu. Now let me drop your screen. We're going to close out with 3-minute closing for Gideon. It is on you. I'll start the time when you start. Gideon, it's on you. Checking in. There you go.
I had to unmute my mic.
Oh, you got it. 3 minutes. I'll start when you start.
All right. So is my screen sharing?
Let me share it for you. It's on. You on now?
All right. So
Again, title of the debate: Did the New Testament plagiarize Gnostic texts? Many points that I showed why that could not be the case. Gnostic text is the version of the New Testament. Gnostic text is not older than the New Testament, not at all. I've shown radiocarbon dating according to sources I provided. The preeminence of the New Testament over the Gnostic text. We've seen people that actually, I've showed people that actually existed outside of the New Testament to show that it's not just a pseudo work. Whereas with him, again, like I said, he can show it when it was time to ask. We didn't see it. It's actually plagiarizing New Testament texts. I've showed how certain themes relied on knowledge of the New Testament for that. I provided sources wherein I showed the credentials of the people's source, whereas my opponent, he would be so lazy with his information, he copies and pastes the source numbers, the page, but not the source. Nothing my opponent said addresses plagiarism. He continually died at his own source. Look at this. This brother gave us a clear-cut example of plagiarism that he accused the New Testament of, which no scholar, which I show, agrees with him and shows that he don't know the exact definition of theft or plagiarism. He's just going off his esoteric emotions. I mean, the brother is right here in real time committing plagiarism. Whose thought is this, Yaya? Where is the source material that you're getting this from? And what's bad about it, my opponent don't even know he's committing plagiarism. You're taking someone's opinion, mixing it up as it's yours, and presenting it as your own. The importance of having source materials, because we can go into these words that you're presenting to us and look at it in its full context and
30
then make
seconds.
a decision on that. So I want to thank DMG, Paradigm Shift TV, the crew. You know, I want to thank my opponent, Yaya, you know, for participating in this debate. You know, definitely, appreciate you, my brother. And definitely thank the people for coming, looking at it, checking us out. Once again, all praises to the Most High in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. All praises.
All right, and that was the end of the debate. Shout out to both of these brothers for putting together awesome presentations, being able to get in there and have a nice, respectful debate, and just do what y'all do. We'll have a fallout show that discuss what the judges have said and let you know who the winners is. So stay tuned over the next couple of days, and DMG will get to you with that information. As always, shout outs to the team, the whole Paradigm Shift family. And with that being said, I thank you, Raymoe. I thank you, Gideon. Everybody have a good night, and we'll see y'all soon. Peace.
Peace.